So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this is the fourth webinar of the EthioLatinCoffee Community of Practice. My name is Alan Mutaspai. I'm a Regional Programs Manager at Austria, and I'm a Knowledge and Learning Lead for this project. Today's webinar focused on the assessment of women's participation and benefit in the coffee value chain. We are delighted to have you all for joining us for this important discussion. The objective of today's webinar is fourfold. Firstly, we aim to present the findings of the research study, which has been conducted by ECTA on women participation and benefits in the coffee value chain, specifically in the Yayu Coffee Forest Biosphere Reserve. Secondly, we seek to raise awareness about the challenges faced by women in coffee value chain and emphasize the significance of their inclusion and empowerment. Then thirdly, we aim to foster dialogue and share potential solutions and recommendations for improving women's participation and benefits in the coffee value chain. Lastly, we aspire to facilitate knowledge sharing among researchers, practitioners, policymakers, and other stakeholders interested in gender equality and sustainable coffee production. Excellent. Okay. So, all right. Okay. So let me continue with the program agenda. After my welcome remarks, an opening remark from Ms. Aurora Martin, the project manager and the program manager at AECID will follow, who will emphasize the importance of assessing women's participation and benefits in the coffee value chain. We'll then move to the presentations by Mulugeta Makonnen and Ayaleo from Ethiopian Coffee Tea Authority, who will introduce a research study that I have done in the Yayu Biosphere Reserve. Next, we'll have a Q&A session after the presentations of Ayaleo and Mulugeta. And this will provide an opportunity for you to engage with presenters and seek clarification on any aspects of the research study. Finally, we'll move on to the panel discussion on strategies for promoting gender equality in the coffee value chain. Our esteemed panelists include Kimberly Easton, founder and CEO at Equal Origins, Dahab Bitodlin, director of Diamond Coffee, and Sandra Marquez, who is a coordinator of Gender Committee at Amu Cafe Honduras, which is the Women Coffee Association in Honduras. The three panelists will share their experience and best practices in promoting women's participation and benefits in the coffee value chain. Additionally, they will discuss key challenges and barriers faced by women in the coffee sector and explore innovative strategies and initiatives to address gender inequalities and empowerment. The panel discussion will be skillfully moderated by Sarah Yurga, the president of the Ethiopian Women in Coffee. In conclusion, we are grateful for your participation in this webinar on women, coffee, and climate. This is our project called, the name of the project is Women's Empowerment for Socio-Ecological Resilience of the Coffee Value Chain Against Climate Change in Ethiopia project. We are confident that today's discussion will contribute to our collective effort in advancing gender equality in the coffee industry. We encourage active participation during the webinar by utilizing the chat. You can use the chat area and also the Q&A facilities available on the Zoom platform. You can find them at the bottom of the Zoom platform. So feel free to share your comments, ask questions, or engage in discussions using these features. Additionally, if you prefer to follow the webinar in English or Spanish language, you can click on the interpretation icon located at the bottom of the Zoom screen. This will allow you to select the language of your choice for real-time interpretation. When someone speaks in Spanish, you can go to the English channel if you are an English speaker. Then if you are a Spanish speaker, you can go to the Spanish channel so that you can listen to the translation. So we value your input and engagement, and we look forward to an interactive and insightful session. Thank you. And now I invite Aurora to give us her opening remarks. Thank you so much. Over to you, Aurora.
Thank you, Alemo. Thank you, everyone, for being together with us today in this fourth Community of Practice webinar. We are so happy to be now in a systematic way having these monthly webinars, and And I believe that now each time with each webinar, we will give a bit more of attention and give a little bit more of focus of the important topics that it is that it has sorry for the topics that it is like the focus of our project, but not only from our project, but for the challenges and the opportunities of the coffee sector in Ethiopia, in Colombia, in Honduras, and in any other country. Today, let me know, Walter, if I need to go a bit more slowly. If not, I continue. Today, a little bit slowly. So today the webinar, it focuses on the importance of women's participation and benefit in the coffee value chain. In this case, it will be more set in Ethiopia. But as we know, there will be then the discussion where it has a broader topic. So we go from Ethiopia to a general context. As you know, we are working in the project Women, Coffee and Climate, where it is one of the main areas is to understand, to see what are the gaps, to know and to work towards a more gender equality coffee value chain from the production until the cup. And the first thing we need to do is to know more what is happening from the field, from the different institutions, from the women cooperatives, from the families, but as well from the policies that we have, from the type of research that we are doing in order to assess this gap, and then to know how can we address, how can we tackle and give priority to women's participation and benefits in the coffee sector. This is why we are working together with Ethiopian Coffee Anti-Authority, that they have been doing an important research and assessment on the topic. And this is the first assessment, the first research that has been carried out in the project. So we are really looking forward to listen to the assessment that they have done, to their recommendations, and to start working on it. So it's not only to know more about this assessment, but now that we have the information, that we know that it is evidence-based, to start take this research into action, and together with the gender equality strategy and together with other different institutions, to start working working with women and working for the women in the coffee sector to, as we mentioned, to make it much more gender equality, right? So thank you, and I give the floor back to Alemo.
Thank you, Aurora. Thanks so much. I will now directly take you to the first presentation by Mulugeta and Ayale on the assessment of women's participation and benefit in the coffee value chain in the Yayu Coffee Forest Biosphere Reserve. This is a research that has been done by the ECTA. Over to you, Mulugeta.
Okay. Thank you for giving me this chance. And my name is Mulugeta. I'm a gender expert at Ethiopian Coffee and Tea Authority. So I'm going to present an assessment conducted by our experts and in collaboration with Spanish corporation partners. Our title is, as you know, an assessment of women's participation and benefit in the coffee value chain in Yayo Coffee Forest Biosphere Reserve. Next. This is, as you know, our assessment has its own table content, it has its own introduction, background and justification. So there is objective of the study, research question, scope and limitation of the study, significance of the study, literature review, concept and the definition of the key terms, overview of coffee production and the processing, theoretical review, empirical evidence, methodology, description of the study area, research design, sampling technique, sampling determination, sample size determination, type, resource and the methodology of the data collection, method of data analysis. Okay. So the assessment have all these contents. The other one is women's level of participation in coffee value chain, challenges of women's participation in the coffee value chain, benefit of women in coffee value chain, conclusion and recommendation, recommendation, major action point forward. This all are our table of contents that our assessment has. This all contents. The next one. So when we come across to the introduction, our background and the justification I will present as following. Coffee is the major favorite beverages and the most traded commodity ICC in 2015. It is the primary source of income for more than 10 million households in coffee-growing Africa country. This is including Ethiopia. Most of the growing country, especially including Ethiopia, is based on the coffee production for their revenue income. That means coffee also serves as an important source of export revenue for coffee producing country. Ethiopia is known for the origin and the wide diversity of Arabica coffee, and it has enormous unexplored potential to produce top specialty coffee. Anwar 2060. This is research or is finding of Anwar in 2010. Moreover, the coffee subsector of Ethiopia has been and continues to be the base for the country's agricultural and economic development. Similarly, coffee in Ethiopia accounts for more than 25% of gross national product, 40% of the total export earning, 60% of agricultural export, 10% of the total government revenue, and about 25% of the total population of the country are depend on the production, processing, distribution, and the export of coffee. This is a research found by DESIRA 2016. Next. According to FAO 2011, about 45% of the agriculture force is covered by women, and the figure is rising over time. Recent study from the International Women Coffee Alliance demonstrates that women do 70% of the work in the coffee value chain in Ethiopia. Generally, contribute more labor input area of harvesting. This input area of coffee harvesting, coffee washing and then sorting, coffee roasting, coffee brewing, coffee bean selling, coffee management, and the coffee seed and the seedling preparation. The other one is compost preparation is also included. This is one participation of women are participated in all these activities in Ethiopia. So in addition, women play a key role towards the transition of green economy and the inclusive, equitable, and for business model in global interconnected food system. When we raise about green economy that aim to reduce environmental risk, ecological scarcity, and that aim to sustainable development without degradation the environment. So women are widely participating in environmental protection. So despite playing a significant participation, despite playing a significant participation at all levels, the level of benefit from the process and the outcome is very minimal. This means most probably women are participating in every activities, including coffee production, but they are not benefited equally with the men or with their own husbands. Next. Women face more constraints to coffee production, such as lack of capital and access to institution credit, lack of informal and formal market information system, poor technical skill, and the lack of improved extension service. Women in decision-making process, ownership, and the control over the resource is very limited. EthioCoffee in 2019, gender smart policy need to overcome socio-cultural barriers such as systematic power relation and the violence against women. There is different violence found in Ethiopia, especially in EIO. If we take, for example, every resource is managed by the husband or the male one. This is the main problem at that area. Although there are various studies on women participation and the benefit in the coffee value chain at the national, international level, lack of in-depth assessment on women participation and the benefit in coffee value chain in EIO Coffee Forest Biosphere Reserve is considered to be the major gap to make informed decision on the preparation and implementation of policy, project, and the program in the sector. Therefore, this study aims to bridge the gap by conducting assessment on the practice and the level of women's participation and the benefit in the target area to generate adequate recommendation for policy, program, project planning, implementing, monitoring, and the evaluation. This assessment shows that this a bridge to narrow the gap between the participation and the benefit of women, to make it equal within the husband or within the men. The other is the Ethiopian Coffee and the Tea Authority is implementing gender mainstreaming activity to ensure participation and the benefit of women at all levels. Currently, the Spanish Corporation Office is supporting gender inclusion and the women empowerment efforts of the women empowerment efforts of the authority. This assessment on the women's participation and the benefit in coffee value chain in EIO Coffee Forest Biosphere Reserve was conducted as a part of joint Ethiopian Coffee, Tea, and the Authority and the Spanish Corporation Office Project DESIRA plan. On this assessment, we have the assessment have generally as one research. It has its own objective of the study. It has two objectives. One, it has general objective and the specific objective. In general objective, the assessment's general objective is to assess women's participation and benefit in the coffee value chain in EIO Coffee Forest Biosphere. This is the general objective of the assessment. This means how level, at what level women are participating and at what level women are benefited from the coffee's outcome. The other one is specific objective. One, to assess the level of women's participation in the coffee value chain in the study. That means EIO, the study area is EIO. So at what level, this shows at what level women are participating in the coffee value chain. The second one is to assess the level of women's benefit in the coffee value chain in the area. This is that at what level women are benefiting from coffee value chain. This shows that how that the women are benefiting are not shows how at what level women are benefiting from their coffee. The other and the third one is to identify the institution challenges for women's participation in the coffee value chain. What challenges are the institutions found around this challenge? What are the challenges for constraints to participate women in the coffee value chain? The next, based on the objective, we have research questions. Our research question is based on our objectives. So, number one, what is the level of women participation in the coffee value chain in the study area? The second one, what is the level of women's benefit in the coffee value chain in the study area? The third one is, what are the institutional challenges for women participation in the coffee area? This shows that what are the institutions facing, what kind of challenges they are facing in the area. This means. The other one is scope and the limitation of the study. The study was conducted in 4 waradas, namely Yayo, Ilonopa, Urumu, and the Chora in Yayo Coffee Forest Biosphere Reserve of Southwest Oromia region, and the study focused on the participation benefits of women in the coffee value chain. The study was restricted to the assessment of women's participation in each coffee production process and their benefits in the coffee sector. The study covers only 75% of the total 6 warada in Yayo Coffee Forest Biosphere Reserve due to security problems and around the warada Dorani and Algesachi waradas were not included in this study. These 2 warada are the remotest warada, and there is a security problem around these 2 waradas. That means significance of the study. The comprehensive understanding of level of women's participation, benefits, and the challenge have supreme importance as input for future research, development policies, and aid project to work on gender and the office related interventions. This means this study has its own importance of it can be an input for any research development policies, for any aid projects. So this assessment result is a very important to have its own important. And the other is the following general, the information generated from the study could use as a source for anyone wishing to conduct research on coffee, gender, and the value chain. The next, the other is literature review. Our literature review has concept and the definition of key terms, overview of coffee production and the processing, theoretical review, and the empirical review. The other one is methodology. Description of the study area. Yayo Biosphere is one of the 5 biosphere reserves in Ethiopia registered in UNESCO. For example, Yayo is registered in 2010. The other is also registered in different time. It is located in southwest Ethiopia, about 164 kilometers away from capital city Addis Ababa. This is Yayo Forest, Yayo Biosphere is far from capital Addis. It is away from 564 kilometers. Basel Reserve is known for its wild coffee growing and has immense inhabitants, and they have home for various wild flora and wildlife. The total area of the reserve comprises an estimated 1,621 hectares of land, where 137,736 hectares of it belongs to the traditional zone, and 1,552 and 736 hectares of the land goes to the buffer and the core zone and Yayo biosphere. Next, research design. The assessment applied descriptive research design, where the nature of the assessment is to describe the characteristics of women's participation and the benefit in the coffee value chain in Yayo Coffee, Yayo Forest Coffee Biosphere Reserve. The study used cross-sectional data structure to address the objective of the study. Quantitative and qualitative research approach were applied in order to get holistic understand of the assessment. This is a mixed research method is applied on this. The other one is sampling techniques. Multi-stage random sampling technique was employed to select women for the study. This we used a technique of random sampling technique was employed in this case. Sampling size determination. In the study, Yemane 1967 formula was employed to determine the sampling size due to the homogeneous character of the community and the nature of the study. This study, every warda of the zone has the same characteristics of, or it is homogeneous. According to Lubabur and the Buno Zone Bureau of Agriculture, the total women population size of the study area was 14,470 women inhabitants in the coffee in the Yayo Coffee Forest Biosphere, and the sample was determined based on the formula of n is equal to n over 1 plus n in bracket e square. Types, sources, and the method of data collection. Primary and secondary data type were collected from primary and secondary source respectively. Secondary data were collected from journals, articles, previous studies, organizational documents, and books through critical reviews. The data from women farmers were collected through semi-structured questionnaire interviews. Furthermore, checklist was used to collect for key informant. Our key informants are DS, World Agricultural officials and experts, women affairs offices, microfinance institution, and the cooperative are our main key informants. Method and the data analysis. Collected data were managed, coded, and analyzed using Excel and the PSS version 26. Descriptive statistics such as mean, percentage, and the frequency distribution table were employed to achieve the objective of the study. Likert is the most common measurement to know the level of participation of the respondents in defined activity in social science studies. Hence, in the study, the level of women's participation in the coffee value chain was analyzed through a 3-point Likert scale, such as high, medium, and low. This is all about it. Next. The next part will be presented by Otto Ayalo.
Okay. Thank you very much, all the panelists. I try to present the result and discussion part of the assessment. As he described, he presented very well the introduction part, the literature review, and the discussion, the methodology and design. Now I'm present on the result and discussion part. The first we see here is about the description, demographic characteristics and women's level of participation in coffee value chain, challenge of women's participation in the coffee value chain, benefits of women in coffee value chain. Next. According to our assessment, the demographic characteristics of respondents were described here. Regarding their sex, since the title is Women's Participation and Benefit in the Coffee Value Chain, in that area, all the key participants are females. Although all the 191 respondents, 100% were female. Concerning the age, more than 95% below 55 age. Concerning their marital status, about 94% of the participants were married and only 6% was single. Concerning the educational level, the majority, more than 83% are below grade 8 level, and about 29% illiterate and 9% adult education, 21% 1 up to 4 grade, 5 up to 8th grade 24%, 9 and up to 11th grade 14%, high school graduate 2%, above high school 1%. This shows that their level of education is lower grade. Concerning women's level of participation in the coffee value chain, the activities we try to assess is their participation in coffee seed and seedling preparation, coffee shade tree preparation, plantation, compost preparation, coffee management, coffee harvesting, coffee processing, coffee bean selling. As you know, the majority of women are participated on these activities. Its grand mean is 72%. It is similar with that of other studies described in the literature, 70%. Next. The relative level of participation of women in coffee value chain, the first level of their participation is coffee bean harvesting, the first, and the second is compost management, coffee management. The third is dry coffee processing. The fourth is coffee shade tree preparation and plantation. The fifth is coffee seed and seedling preparation. The sixth is coffee bean shelling. As indicated, their level of participation and benefit is low because their involvement in coffee bean selling. This is in the primary level, Maradno. We are discussing in the primary level, in the local community, in the Kabale Warada, from the Warada next to Kabale level, their participation is very low. Totally in the country, their involvement in the marketing level, women are very low. Here indicates that their coffee bean selling in primary marketing level. Next. The challenge women participate in the coffee value chain. We try to identify lack of input access as it's indicated in our strategy. Similar response we obtained in this assessment. Lack of input access, lack of extension service, lack of our extension service is not gender sensitive, it's blind, prepared, both for men and women. Lack of credit access. There is no microfinance institutions at large in that area, and the lack of marketing information. There is no gender sensitive market information system at lower level. Lack of clean water access is also their problem. This increases their lower workload. Lack of alternate source of energy. This is the first, as we see in the grading level. We see this is the first problem of women. It's not only their problem, it's also in the future it's a problem of the environment by itself. Because those women are involving using in firewood and others for their purpose. Next. The relative rank of challenges. The first rank is, as I mentioned earlier, lack of alternative energy source energy. The second one is lack of input access. The third one is lack of extension service. As I mentioned earlier, our extension service is gender blind. The treatment is both male and female is the same. There is no special attention for women to address in appropriate time and in appropriate place. As we design in our gender equality strategy, this is our focus to bring change in this area. The other is lack of credit services because of the absence of microfinance institutions and affirmative actions, and their involvement also low in cooperative as a member or leadership. Because of this, their access to credit service is very low. This is the fourth. Lack of clean water also there needs a need to address to reduce women's workload. Next. Concerning the economic benefit of women, since this research is conducted at lower level, at farmers level, we consider only the primary market level involvement. That is in selling of coffee beans, their participation is very low. The utilization also, as it's indicated here, it's very low, below 50%. Even this 50% is because our communities don't like to expose their husband. Their response in words, they say that we utilize together. They don't want to they don't want to externalize their husbands in our community. Otherwise, their participation in the income utilization is very low. Next. The conclusion and the recommendation of this assessment tells us this study analyzed the level of women's participation and benefit in Yayo Coffee Forest Biosphere Reserve. First, women's participation in coffee value chain such as management, practice, harvesting, processing was 75% labor force was implemented by women. Women have high involvement in coffee value chain, but in marketing, coffee bean selling, they have low participation. They have more contribution in the labor force, in most activities, but their involvement in coffee selling, in marketing is very low. Women's farmers not benefit despite their high level of participation. Another is the institutional challenge: input access, exchange service, access to get saving and credit service, access to market information. Even this market information is not systemic, not only for women but also men. There is no systematic market information in that area. Another problem is access to alternative resource and access to clean water, where institutional challenges which were women face from coffee value chain participation. The lack of alternative energy source, input access and exchange service have a profound challenge as ranked from the study. Next. To strengthen women's participation in each coffee value chain, the process of gender adult education should be provided and expanded. As I mentioned earlier from the result part in demographic discussion, their grade level is very low. The majority is below grade 4. There is a need to strengthen gender-specific adult education and expand. The other is to minimize the problem of social challenges. Strong efforts are expected from consultancy to alleviate the initial challenges of women participation, such as lack of access of input, exchange service, access to getting, saving and creating service, access to market information, access to alternative resources, and access to clean water. There is a need to address this issue, these problems which our women face. The other is gender-specific digital-based market information and extensions service delivery technology should be established and expanded. There is a need to strengthen digital-based market information. Either community radio, smartphone, or other information system must be strengthened in that area to address women's information system problem. The other exchange service should be also technology oriented because it is not available for women. The place is not available, the time is not available. There is a need to design which helps to deliver women's or gender friendly. Another important thing we need to address is our recommendation, alternate source of energy such as electric power, solar and biogas should be promoted and expanded. In some villages, there is unexperienced women use solar energy and biogas. This should be strengthened and expanded. Next, a special training and awareness creation should be provided to increase the number of women members and leadership in the coffee cooperative. In our findings, we got that the number of women as a membership or leadership is very low. Therefore, there is a need to empower women to become a member and a leader of a cooperative. Local microfinance and gender-specific saving and credit service should be strengthened. There is a need to strengthen local microfinance and gender-specific saving and credit service. The other is women should be participate in the preparation, monitoring, and evaluation of gender mainstreaming. They should participate in gender mainstreaming at all levels, starting from the planning, monitoring, and evaluation process. Another important we try to recommend is that give an attention to conduct comprehensive assessment on the participation and benefit of women in the coffee value chain, assess gender equality in the coffee value chain in all coffee growing regions, including other regions beyond this project area. This is our recommendation. The other one is we try to make a major action point forward with potential responsible bodies based on the recommendation, provide alternate source of energy for women such as electric power and solar biogas, CSOs and local government, conduct capacity building for women to improve market participation and benefit, act with local structure, conduct comprehensive assessment on women's participation and benefit in coffee value chain in all coffee growing regions, act with JARC and MOA in partnership with DESIRA. We need even our support. Conduct an assessment on gender equality and coffee landscape management in Yai Coffee. This is the second assessment we try to conduct. The proposal is already prepared and submitted. Support cooperative to support their bylaws, to update their bylaws to consider women participation and create access and leadership, legal government and cooperatives, enhance gender mainstreaming intervention in the coffee value chain based on the existing strategy developed by ECTA. As you know, we have our role is as an ECTA women in social affairs executive, building capacity and mainstreaming at all levels is our one of the major role we are doing now. We conduct training, we provide training, we conduct supportive supervision at Warada level. We find best experience and share for others. We give feedback. So there is a need to enhance gender mainstreaming intervention in the coffee value chain based on the strategy. The other is promote affirmative actions and on service giving institution, credit market information, clean water. All these institution need to address affirmative actions to improve the participation of women in that study area or project area. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you so much.
Comments and questions, welcome.
Thank you for both the presenters, Ato Mulugeta Makonnen and Ato Ayalo Ashanif from the Ethiopian Coffee Tea Authority, for sharing their valuable insights on women's participation and benefits, especially in the coffee value chain in the IU Forest Biosphere Reserve. Your presentation have provided us with a deeper understanding of the challenges and opportunities in this very crucial area. Thank you so much for that. Now I invite all participants to engage in an open discussion and share your thoughts, comments, and questions regarding the topics covered in the presentation. If you have any questions, I can see some questions in the Q&A area. There are two questions. One is, I'll start with that one. If you have other questions, please post them in the Q area or in the chat area, or if you can even raise your hand and you can ask the questions yourself. So Marishat is asking, what are some common challenges in assessing women's benefit in the coffee value chain? I think this has been answered in the presentation. If not, you respond to that. And also, really, I'm happy if you provide examples of participatory and gender-sensitive approaches to assess women's participation in the coffee value chain. This is one of the questions in the Q&A area. And if Ayale or Mulugeta, if you can respond to this one.
Okay.
In the Q&A area.
The common challenge, as I mentioned earlier, the first challenge they respond as by the interviewers is alternative energy source is one of their problem. The other is the institutional challenge, as I mentioned, lack of input, access, market extension service, clean water, and others. These are their common challenges they need to address to participate more. Concerning their participation is very high, as indicated in the result. More than 70% of the field work is done by women. They have high participation in the coffee management, coffee processing, and other, as I mentioned above. The problem is their involvement in marketing, even in the primary level of marketing and selling their coffee. That is the role of men. It is generally performed by male. Their participation also, this reduces also their benefit.
Thank you, Ayale. Another question is by Zanaba Makonnen. How do the government of Ethiopia and other stakeholders should empower women in the benefit sharing of coffee value chain? I think this has been answered during the last slide of the presentation, where he has indicated some action points. I think you have answered this one. I have seen a hand by Lemi. Let me.
Of course, as an institution, we have done a lot to empower women. We are trying to mainstream gender at all level, from Kabale to federal level. We provide training, we build capacity of the institution or the staffs at all level. We conduct supportive supervision. We see their participation and their engagement, and we give feedback. And we also gather best experience from one area to another. We also give feedback and we share experience from one to another by different mechanisms. Like we conduct review meeting, annual and quarterly meeting. We present the problem and the existing challenges of women's face at all level. The first problem is the structural problem. There is a structural problem at all level. Since ECTA is a new institution, we have a structural problem at all level. And the existing structure also, there is also high turnover. We provide training for those implementers, but the turnover is very high. Otherwise, we try to, as an institution, we try to empower our staffs to empower women, to engage women participation very high.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ayala. Another question by Ruta. I think Ruta, he has also responded to this one in one of his slides where he has indicated the various places where women actively participate in the coffee value chain. So the question, if you can respond again, respond to her, what are the specific activities where women engaged in the coffee value chain? That's what she's asking. I think if you can...
I think it is answered.
It's answered in the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay. Lemmy has a very nice question here. How lack of clean coffee can affect women participation?
What?
How does the lack of clean coffee affect women participation? Clean coffee, what do you mean by that?
Clean water.
Clean water.
Clean water.
You mean clean water? Okay.
Yeah.
Access of clean water.
Access clean water means this increase their workload. They lose their time by searching water, clean water.
Okay, Ruta has another question. The challenge seemed more generic. Was it possible to capture why women not accessing services, inputs in the markets?
The challenge?
She's saying that the challenge that you have posed in your presentation seems to be more generic. Was it possible to capture why women not accessing services, inputs and markets? Is there, specific reasons for that?
Yeah. For example, I mentioned earlier, our extension service is not gender sensitive, it is gender blind. It is not appropriate. If you take the time, it's not appropriate for women. It is not, if you take the place, it's not appropriate. Even the number of female extension workers is very low. In terms of credit service, there is no adequate microfinance institution in that area.
Thank you.
We find in one Orada, Osasa microfinance institution, all the members are male and all the leadership are also male.
Okay, another question by Dr. Tufena. I think it's by Dr. Tufena.
It's not general.
There is a question, how do you ensure male engagement to ensure women empowerment? So we can't look at women as a separate entity. That's what the question. How do you ensure male engagement to ensure women empowerment? Have you studied that one? Have you looked at the part where male engagement is important to ensure women empowerment?
In our strategy, there is a need to mainstream gender in general. We are not working only for women. We try to participate both male and women, female. So the strategy is not isolating the engagement of men. We need their collaboration. Even their participation and decision making become together in the income utilization. Even the extension system should participate both male and women. Our effort is to change the existing system to participate both at equal level.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other question, comment? Thank you. Thanks so much, Mulugeta and Ayalio. So if you have no questions, comments, I will go to the next. Okay, Dr. Fena, you have raised your hand. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mulugeta, for the presentation. I'm the one who asked about the male engagement because it's not coming out strongly, or at least we didn't hear you mention it. Of course, we know when you're talking about gender, you are giving it a gender approach. But then we live in a patriarchal society, and it is one of the reasons why women are not empowered, because even if you support these women in coffee with whatever interventions that the government of Ethiopia is giving them, but without also working for male champions who are supporting these women, then realizing women empowerment will take some time. So we were just interested in knowing about that particular aspect, because how do men respond to this? How do they take it?
Okay. As I mentioned earlier, our exchange system is not gender sensitive. Our effort is to make gender sensitive, to become women participate more, whereas our males are generally participate in most of our agricultural activities. But the participation and the benefit of women is not considered, as you know, even in other nations. Their participation is and benefits, their benefit is not equal to their benefit, their participation. So our effort is to bring women to the front as male, whereas our male environment is now, since our society is a male society, dominant society, the issue of male is not that much a problem in our case. Similarly, we are doing our gender mainstreaming is including both male and female. The emphasis is given to empower women currently.
Thank you. Thank you, Ayalio. There is a question by Jaime. He's asking, what about women's land ownership situation concerning coffee plantations, land ownership? And he's saying that from the Ethiopian Coffee Tea Authority, as we understand, the resources are limited. Which do you think should be the priority area of ECTA to start working on the gender equality in coffee sector? What's the priority? What should be the priority for ECTA to ensure gender equality in the coffee sector?
Just the priority is to implement this gender equality strategy, because this includes many things. Mainstreaming the gender issue, changing the bylaws of the exchange system, improving the exchange system, about accessing input. We put as in our strategy. The strategy also, the inputting supply strategy in the value chain also gender sensitive. The exchange system become gender sensitive. This all issue must be addressed. Even the other institutions, the microfinance institutions should be strengthened, and the cooperatives bylaw must be revised, which provide an affirmative action for women to address gender equality in the area or in our sector. Since our sector is not solve all those problems, there is a need to collaboration and work with other institutions, like cooperatives, microfinance institutions, and including even the landing policy. There is a need to give priority for women who have denied access of land. Generally, there is a land problem nowadays. Anyway, there should be an effort to address women's issue. Land certificate is another important thing to become owner. This must be done as implemented currently. This also solves the problem of women, and they become empowered and engaged in the coffee sector.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think Marsha's question is partly answered while you're responding to Jaime's question. She's asking, women in coffee growing communities may have limited access to resources such as land, credit, market information, which can limit their ability to participate in the value chain and benefit from it. And also, women may face cultural and social barriers that limit their ability to participate in the value chain. How you address this challenge practically, I think you have already said that it needs a concerted effort of all stakeholders to respond to this challenge of women participation. So, Sarah, you have a question? You have raised your hand. Dr. Tufena also, you have raised?
Yes.
Okay, Sarah, please go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to comment on a few things. We have seen most of the challenge and mainly where the gaps are in terms of gender mainstreaming. I would say the cultural value of like the heritage that comes from women carrying the coffee culture through generations should be put as one asset and find a way to make them benefit from that angle as well. So benefit culturally, socially, and of course financially. But how can we like interlink those positive attributes to whatever we see as a challenge as well? Another point will be for as Coffee and Tea Authority as an authority should be focusing on a few practical measures and prioritize which ones should really come first. So that should be maybe our next conversation, or we'll find it in the upcoming conversation, but prioritizing which areas to really address should be the issue. Otherwise, if we start talking about all the challenges and try to address them at once, I don't think it will take us any further. But focusing on one issue at a time, there are issues that are, of course, what do you call them? That women face across the board, but not all of them are necessarily like high priority. So how can we address it? And we're specifically talking about coffee, so it has to be addressed in that regard as well. There are general challenges as a woman, and a society. In coffee, what are specifically the challenges? The extension work, the skills, the information gap. Those can be addressed, and I think can be seen as priority as well. We can also talk about health, clean water, and so many other cross sectoral issues, but focus will take us maybe one step at a time. And I believe in changing the status quo, one woman, one step, one village at a time. I think that should be the approach.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. With that, I think we end this session. Because of time, we have to move to the next session. Thanks so much for Mulugeta and Ayale for your insightful presentations and for response to all the questions that have been raised. Thank you. So we are now moving into the next segment of our webinar, which is a panel discussion on strategies for promoting gender equality on the coffee value chain. We have brought together esteemed representatives from various sectors to share their valuable insights and experiences. Our panelists include Kimberly Eason, founder and CEO at Equal Origins, representing a gender-focused NGO. We also have Dahab Vitauli, who is the director of Diamond Coffee PLC, who will provide insights from the perspective of a coffee processing and marketing company. Lastly, we have Sandra Marquez, who is the coordinator of the gender committee at the AmuCafe, which is a Women in Coffee of Honduras, representing a Coffee Women's Farmers Association. Under the skillful moderations of Sara Yirga, the president of Ethiopian Women in Coffee Association, our panelists will discuss key points related to promoting women's participation and benefits in the coffee value chain. They will share their experiences, best practices, and innovative strategies to address gender equality and empowerment. Throughout the discussion, we'll focus on three main areas: sharing experiences and best practices, identifying key challenges and barriers faced by women in the coffee sector, and discussing innovative strategies and initiatives to empower women and achieve gender equality. We believe that this panel discussion will provide valuable insights and inspiration for all participants. We encourage active participation and interaction as we work together to create a more inclusive and equitable coffee value chain. So let's now turn the floor over to our esteemed panelists, led by Sara Yirga. Over to you, Sara. Thank you.
Thank you, Alamu. Thank you, everyone, for sharing this platform with us. This has been really hard work. I can see Alamu was organizing this, and I see the hustle paid of Alam. Kimberly, Dahab, and I'm sorry, but I think I missed the name, but Sandra, is that right, Alam?
Yes.
From Amuk, yes, okay. Thank you for giving us your precious time to discuss your work, I would say, because Alam already mentioned what areas we need to focus on, but I would like you to talk about what, as a woman in coffee, especially Dahab and Sandra, I want you to focus on what your work entails in areas of engaging women as outgrowers, as cooperatives, and how do you encourage women to face their challenges first by themselves, because there are possibilities that are around us that we don't see because we are blinded by the fact that the system is like that, or our society doesn't allow this, or whatever. We're blinded. We don't see what we can do. So what is it like for you as women in coffee, working within and among the producing and processing women, that gives you the opportunity and to enhance and leverage on the contribution of women? I will start from Sandra, and Dahab will follow. Kimberly, I will come back to you like in a few minutes. Buen dia, Sandra.
Hello, have a nice day. Thanks for the participation and invitation from AmuCafe in this webinar for this discussion panel about the barriers and challenges that we have faced as women in coffee. Definitely, we share with Ethiopian women in coffee the land's ownership. That's why we think we have limited access to credit, and we have faced sexual violence in general. And this has been an issue from the thanks to EthioLatinCoffee, to the EthioLatinCoffee support, we have talked about all these issues. And through this process, there are several research that have been published. Another barrier is the access to input, lack of opportunities in the decision making, the access to marketing, because we also shared this, as I heard, with women in Ethiopia. They are really involved in the production part, but in the marketing sales sector, it's more about men. So from that point, we understand that the economic benefits are not addressed to women, despite that we are having a key role in the coffee sector. As I understand, there's a way to face these challenges thanks to the presence of several cooperative institutions such as ACID and others that have been worrying about these issues in the coffee sector. And we have the public sector that is actively participating, and it's been from bottom to top, very engaging with a lot of workshop. And it has been very important for us as women in coffee, for example, as amidst, to take this sense of ownership and to let know our needs and all that we are soliciting. That's what I wanted to share. I don't know if there is another question at another time, but this is what I wanted to say, and this is something that have marked several women in the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, to step up for a stronger leadership.
Okay, Sandra, thank you so much. Briefly, from what you said, and from what we experienced while we visit Colombia, because we had an international exchange a few months ago, we see very strong women working together, even with the challenges, but they were pushing agendas and bringing them to the attentions of decision makers. But also they have women that are decision makers within the policy and dialogue platforms. So we have seen that, and we were encouraged and really inspired by what you just said. Yes, the challenges are shared globally. I don't think there is there might be a unique challenge per region according to our cultural and social situations, but in general in coffee, the challenges the women face are shared across the board. Because of the workshop that was conducted by your partners and within yourselves, the AMUC has this sense of ownership, and they understand what they need, and they set priorities, and they step up to the leadership level, and that's so encouraging. Thank you for sharing, Sandra. I would like to invite my colleague Dahab. She is one of the founders of Ethiopian Women in Coffee. Maybe there were only, I think, 2 farmers within our group, and Dahab was one of them. She is from the Kaffa region, where we call the origin of coffee. I'm just saying it all because I want her to take time telling us about her work. She does an amazing job, and I know she's connected globally, selling her coffee to big brands. And how does she do it? It's not because she's working alone, but she's working with the surrounding farmers, and she has other diversified products as well. And let's see what Dahab has to say. Dahab, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we
You
can
can
hear
hear me, right? By the way, I'm also found, my farm is also found around one of the biosphere reserves, which is Kafa Biosphere Reserve. My farm's location is in between the core and the buffer zone of the Kafa Biosphere Reserve. Before 10 years, when I started managing the company, I was very ambitious, and I was planning to accommodate at least 20% of my outgrowers should be women. But actually, when I started working with the outgrowers, when I invite the outgrowers meeting, 100% of them are all men. I can't find any woman who holds the certificate. So even when you call for a meeting, only the men are coming. I could not find a single woman who has a certificate and who is an owner of the land. So what I plan to get the women around my farm is I started working on honey. And since the beehives are at the backyard of their houses, I trained both the male and the female from the same house for modern beekeeping, and then we work with them. So to tell you the truth, from the coffee sector up to now, I only found 2 or 3 women who are single mom, which are owners of their land. So up to now, we are working in other sectors, not in coffee sector. But as a comment, since the land issue is very sensitive, we can't just address it shortly, I think. So it's better to find the women and train them in another activities of the coffee. It's true that they are working, more than 70% are women, especially the hardest jobs are done by women. The sensitive issues are done by women. The sorting, the drying, the nursery issues, the planting. These are the most sensitive activities in the farm, and all of them are done by women. But you can't find them in the cash area, in the marketing area. So to solve this, I propose we train them. There are women who are 12th grade complete from the areas. They could be mothers, they could be single moms, they could be students who are looking for a job. We can train them in the process like preparation of special processed coffees. We can train them in quality trainings. We can train them to become trainers for other farmers, so that they can get from the value chain. They can get enough money from the value chain. That is my experience in the coffee bag. Thank you.
Thank you, Dahab. I wanted you to add on product diversification mainly, because I know you had honey processing, and I think there is also poultry and not big, but cattle breeding kind of activities around your farm. Would you love to say something about that and the engagement of women in the activities?
Yeah, we are actually working on the honey sector, especially because the cattle breeding is, since the houses, the coffee plantations are at the backyard, the cattle breeding is not advisable for the storage of the coffee. even for the process. If you stamp the coffees, the calciums will disturb the seedlings and the coffee trees. So to diversify their income, we can use like hen and egg preparation maybe, and especially since the area, the Kaffa area, is a high potential area for coffee and honey. The honey one is, I think, the best thing. And if we diversify to honey, we don't have to be specific to honey only. We can value add to other. We can use the wax to prepare some other products also, so that they can get another sort of income. By the way, from the area of my forests, there are a marginalized part of the society who produce charcoal by deforestation. So when we diversify their income to the honey, we are reducing the deforestation also. So we are working on both sides. They are getting another source of income, and we are also protecting the forest, which we are looking for to save the environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dahab. You see, we were going to miss this. Yeah, the honey, of course, one of the biggest products I know about, and the quality is exceptional, and the women working on the honey harvesting and processing are benefiting from it. I'm glad to hear that there are also marginalized groups that do charcoal production and are a cause of deforestation, but due to this intervention that deforestation, you're protecting the forest, which is an amazing engagement. I have one more question because we have maybe 1 or 2 minutes for you. How do you see your activities as a woman coffee producer and processor as enhancing the livelihoods of and lives of women and their families in your area?
Yeah, actually, when I work with women, as I told you, in the honey sector, I can see that they're getting more money. And actually, when I buy their honeys, I categorize them into 3 categories. The best honeys are paid 10 up to 15% more than the market price. And those honeys which are medium quality are paid with the market price. And those honeys which are of low quality might be paid only 5%, less 5% from the market price. So I can see their change, their lives. They have never seen even a bundle of Ethiopian bird. Before, what they do is the male can go to the forest, harvest the honey, sell it to local wine breweries, and then no money will come to the woman. This was the normal practice. When I pay them, usually the man and the woman will come to deliver the honey, and I will pay them. Yes, I will pay to both of them. The same, I will pay to both of them. So she might get some, I believe that since I am paying in front of her, I believe that she might get some portion of it. I don't know if he gets it all when they go home, but I believe that they can see, I can see, yeah, I can see they are improving somehow, they are improving. But to the coffee, I can't find it. Yeah. That's my experience.
Interesting. See, yeah, now this is also another perspective we can see when it comes to payments and how we handle them, which is going to give us another topic for another session, especially the time of digitalization. But for now, Dahab, thank you for what you're doing in the coffee community. I really appreciate your energy and your commitment to engage and enhance the livelihoods of women in the community around your farm. And thank you for taking your time to share your work with us. Now, Kimberly, but I have to make one confession first. I did not sleep all night. I flew in this morning and I messed up Amuk Colombia and Honduras, and Sandra already apologized. Mano accepted my apologies. But again, to everyone who is participating, my sincere apologies for messing up. Honduras, everybody knows that I can say maybe the best experience I ever had in terms of like understanding the structure, the youth engagement, women involvement, and what we see women do thrive, what we imagine is already happening in Honduras. And I would like to applaud everyone from Honduras in this panel and participating that wonderful Congress on a wonderful job. Thank you, Sandra. Kimberly,
Yes.
a very good friend of mine.
Long time.
For a very long time. One of the founders of International Women in Coffee Alliance, champions of women in coffee, but also an advocate, strategist, and serious champion of women in general. And I cannot say enough about Kimberly, but I have few words. She's too serious when it comes to gender and how we do things. Prominent in women equity and she does it professionally. We met when you were working for ACDI Vocam, right?
Yeah, with Coffee
Yes.
Quality Institute. Yeah,
with Coffee Quality Institute.
with the USAID project.
USAID.
Yeah.
But ever since you see Kimberly, I don't think she has time for herself as well, because she's traveling to farms to understand how the women are working and to engage with them and to tell their story and to help decision makers understand how they can mainstream gender, how they can ensure equity, how we can work together to ensure equity. And I really, really appreciate her work. We are lucky to have her on board with us today. Kimberly, I'm not going to say much, but please give us an insight into what you do, and mainly on strategies, and help us focus on how we can achieve gender equality in the coffee sector, because we're talking about coffee, but that also has a ripple effect. If we make it work in coffee, we can make it work in the other sectors. So yeah, Kimberly, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. Really, I feel like you're my coffee sister, and we have shared many, many memories together. I look forward to creating more. And thank you so much to the organizers for including me. Estoy súper contenta de estar aquí con mis hermanas de Latinoamérica. And also want to thank the Spanish Cooperation too for the focus on this.
You see
topic.
what I mean? She has been everywhere. I told you.
And I also want to really congratulate Ato Mulugeta and the team for the prior presentation. And I think there are so many opportunities to align efforts. And what I would like to do is I have a few slides to share, because I think it'll help sort of frame the experience that we have as Equal Origins in promoting gender equity in the coffee value chain. We've already highlighted quite a bit about the importance of the role of women, and Ato Mulugeta confirmed that in Ethiopia, in the Yayu region, it's 70% of labor in the coffee sector being done, in coffee production being done by women. And of course, as we all know, that does not even touch the household labor and the many other things that women do to help ensure the families can survive and thrive. At the same time, this was also highlighted in Ato Mulugeta's presentation. In most places along in the coffee producing world, vocational education extension services are not reaching women. So Ethiopia is not different in that regard. It's similar in Colombia, Honduras, Nicaragua. Most extension services are gender blind. So I really want, again, to congratulate the ECTA for this effort to shine a spotlight on the role of women and the importance of, in particular, ensuring that extension services can reach and benefit women. Women are the hidden workforce. We know this. There are more and more women that are, thank you to work of the Ethiopian Women in Coffee and other IWCA globally. There's more of a spotlight on the work of women and the role of women. But yet there's still so many women that are also hidden in male-dominated households. And again, the slides we saw earlier about the role of women, where they are most present, of course, is at kind of farm level labor and not necessarily the, access any to the market education. And of course, the farm level labor is the most backbreaking, grueling, and there are a number of other issues that if women don't have access to training and resources, then they're unable to really fulfill on the potential that they have to be farmers that can actually thrive. We conducted research, and I can make this link available in 2021 with support of the Yale University and UNITAR of the United Nations. And essentially what we found is that there's very little focus broadly, not just in government extension, as we're talking about with ECTA, but also private sector, development agencies, projects even funded by, for example, USAID or GIZ. It's only becoming more highlighted and more urgent that all projects ensure that there's not only a gender component, but an integrated mainstream gender approach inside of service provision. So the research highlighted that there's much work to be done. I won't read through all of this for time, but I can share the report, and it's also in Spanish. I can share the link to you all. Currently, the participation of women in training is minuscule. And there is really no one reason why women don't participate. Sometimes the training is they're not invited, but it also, sometimes they are invited, but the subject matter isn't relevant to them. Or maybe the facilitator doesn't know how to present in a way that engages women. So they're not necessarily benefiting even if they're in the room. So this ensuring that women can participate and benefit from trainings requires a comprehensive approach and a real understanding of their needs and their aspirations. So when we look at the hundreds of millions of dollars that are invested in sustainability programming and development programs in coffee alone, it's more than $500 million, which is a data point from the Sustainable Coffee Challenge in 2018. But most of this investment is going into these kinds of things like good agricultural practices, agroforestry, now regenerative agriculture is a big focus, and only a very small portion is allocated towards programs that are designed to empower and benefit women and even potentially try to transform some of the gender unequal contexts in which women work. So what we know that we need is an integrated approach. So where not only having these specific programs for women, but in everything that we do, we're bringing in a gender lens, and we understand the women's roles and how we can best access them to ensure that the services in these different kinds of projects components can actually also include women and benefit them. And by engaging women, I think Dehab touched on this, and is known that when women are visible, when they are given the chance to participate in trainings, there's a whole host of other opportunities that arise. Opportunities for leadership, opportunity for economic empowerment, opportunities for greater agency, for acknowledgement of the importance of their role, especially by their male counterparts and their husbands. So the foundation of vocational education, which is a human right, actually, and mentioned in the Sustainable Development Goals, really can be a foundation for many other positive impacts for farming women and their families. So the Gender Equity Index is a tool specifically for supporting private sector companies, government agencies, development agencies, farmer organizations to ensure that the work that they're doing can reach and benefit women equally to men. And the research that we did back in 2021, based on that, we were able to bring together a number of investors. These are some of the companies that invested to help create this new tool, the Gender Equity Index. And we also brought together a panel of gender experts, and we obtained input from farmer organizations, especially in Latin America. And we sort of wove together all of the recommendations into what we call the domains of gender equity, specifically for service provision. So you see them here. I don't have time to go through them in detail, but they are linked to the Reach, Benefit, Empower, Transform framework, which was designed by the International Food and Agricultural Policy Research Institute, which I'm sure you're all aware of. So this framework is being applied globally in agriculture to help elevate the importance and the engagement of women. And we have used it as the foundation for this Gender Equity Index. So the Gender Equity Index is free to use, and I can share a link to everyone here on the call, and you can go in and sign up for an account and just try it out. Because even by thinking and engaging with the questions, you'll start to get ideas about how you might shift and evolve your service provision to better reach and benefit women. Gender equity is growing in terms of the market, the demand from the market. So you have more and more companies that are asking for gender equity and that are also willing to potentially invest in supply chain partnerships that can support organizations on their journey to greater gender equity. We recognize that gender equity is a local issue, but it's also a global issue and it's a regional issue. And I love this collaboration that you all are building between Ethiopia and Latin America. I think it's beautiful, and I'm eager, hopefully, to continue to support and to be involved. But really, companies, especially some larger companies that are sourcing a lot of coffee from all over the world, they're looking for sort of a systematic approach. So as they are investing in programs around the world, how can they ensure that their investments are being made in a gender equitable way? And so this is e-com in the cocoa sector, and we expect that potentially in the coffee sector. E-com is a major coffee trader and cocoa trader. They have agreed to use the Gender Equity Index to help them on their journey to greater gender equity in all of their cocoa supply chains by 2025. And in Ethiopia, we just finished a workshop with support of GIZ, together with Ecom and Fahem Plantation in Jima. And essentially what we did was walk them through a process that we call our Better Together process. And the whole idea is that the Gender Equity Index is the foundation for understanding kind of where you are as an organization with regards to service provision. And the important thing that comes out of it is this gender equity development plan. And what we found in the conversations with GIZ and Ecom and Fahem, that by using this same language and same approach, it really facilitates their conversations. How can they collaborate? Where might GIZ provide some training or some funding? What is Ecom's role with Fahem as one of their key supply chain partners? How might they bring in roaster partners to actually invest in these gender equity development plans? So it's exactly the idea of creating a sort of a common language that we can use with the ECTA, with the Ethiopian Women Coffee, Ethiopian Women in Coffee, with Kona Cafe, with the private sector, because it's difficult to understand gender equity. It's a very nuanced topic that often we struggle to talk about. It feels sensitive, and it feels we certainly don't have the answers, right? So sometimes individuals are sort of shy or timid to talk about this issue. And so what we're driving for also with our work and the Gender Equity Index is how can we collaborate on sort of a shared language using some of the terminology of the Gender Equity Index to help us build better collaborations, understand each other, and encourage greater investment and engagement along the supply chain so that we're all on this journey together. In listening to you all, and especially Ato Mulugeta's presentation, the presentation earlier, I was really heartened because we all know that farming women, in particular in Ethiopia, and because we're talking about Ethiopia, really face heartbreaking challenges. And the opportunity that we have to elevate farming women and Ethiopian women is going to have an extraordinary ripple effect for communities. If we're thinking about the women that are involved in coffee and the percent, I forget the percent of women or population, was it 20 or 25% of the population of Ethiopia being involved in coffee, that if we can elevate the stature and really ensure that they have access to this critical vocational education, that it's going to have a significant ripple effect across all the work that you're doing. So I just, put some ideas up there as I was thinking through. You all know that there's legislation coming on track from the European Union. We are looking at how the Gender Equity Index can align and support companies and development partners and governments with compliance around some of the human rights due diligence legislation using the Gender Equity Index. So we're really excited to be here today with you all and on this journey with such inspiring women like Sandra and Dehav and Sarah, and also our male partners, because without the men in this equation, we can't accomplish our dreams and our vision for greater gender equity globally. So I think I'll leave it with that. I do have, if you want to, there's you could do a QR code there and take a little snapshot of that and go directly to the Gender Equity Index, or you can email me, or you can type in the link there, or I could put it in the chat. But yeah, I would love to receive any questions and continue this discussion with you all.
Thank you, Kimberly. That is something I think we need a class about. Like, you have to give us like a proper class on this one.
Happy to. Yeah, you just say when.
I know. Thank you so much. This is like an eye-opening presentation. For instance, I just quote you: opportunities for women in vocational education are opportunities for greater good. That by itself is one huge point. Like, you train women and what they do, whether it is coffee or cocoa or any other sector. Whatever you give to women multiplies, and that applies naturally too. So
so true.
yes, that's true, isn't it? So I think from what you said, I will take the gender equity index as the most important I think lesson we have to take from here. Every one of us should really contact you and take advantage of this opportunity to understand it, to tap into it, because the world is moving in a certain direction. As if, I think if we don't work as if our lives depend on the success of women, we're not going to get anywhere, because that's the fact. Many companies are now gearing their focus into how they can benefit women and also benefit their companies, because the big corporate companies there, like Ecom you mentioned, the challenges they've been discussed, and you brought them as well. The not being invited, issues being not relevant, facilitators' lack of understanding context and what women need, and that they don't cater to it. We can say access in general to training. These are the issues, and they've been, I mean, these are issues that have been since I came to coffee and since I was in development world. These are the challenges we've been hammering all our lives. And why are not they changing? What is missing? I think that's where we have to focus on. The gender equity index works for everyone across the board. It is not a coffee sector only document. It is something that any company, private company, farmer associations, corporations, government institutions, policymakers, all those can engage and really take advantage of this. And this has to be maybe, I think I see a huge partnership opportunity to make it available to everyone that really wants to make use of that. Having a common language, because coffee is known for creating that kind of common platform, which is, let's say we have the coffee grading systems that everyone follows, right? For the quality and for the transaction, for the trade, there are systems that are set that the global coffee industry understands and abides in the rules. But when it comes to issues like gender, the standards are not yet really observed or taken seriously by all of us, the stakeholders. So I really appreciate the fact that you mentioned common language here and understanding of what it means to gender mainstreaming means. So thank you, Kimberly. I'm going to go back to Sandra. I will, because everyone is going to have a Q&A session. Sandra, just I would love to ask you, I think you mentioned women in politics when you first say, when you had this presentation. What did you mean by that, and how did AMUC engage in women, engaging or encouraging women to be in politics or in leadership, and what was that like, if you have to say a few words?
I thank Kimberly for this legacy of gender equality that adds up to the work that is being done in several coffee producing countries. There is an enthusiasm as we women are part of this gender equality program to have some visibility and have a voice in some way in the coffee value chain. And we have seen that within these policies, there is an implementation process, a compliance process. And our organization of us Women in Coffee has been involved in our Honduran chapter. We are with the leadership of this project, and it has several challenges and opportunities, and we want to share that this is a process that it's going to be long, but we have several cooperators and allies. Some of the strategies to be considered is to strengthen this kind of institutions, such as Amo Café, for the women that we are involved in the whole value chain, and strengthen the organizational part and leadership. Because if we all agree, when the women gets the knowledge, the input, and the voice, we don't keep what we know, but we share it with the communities. And we have seen as
Entonces, creo que este puede ser.
I think it might be an invitation for other countries that are implementing a gender equality project. And they can work as we are working in Honduras, and that's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Sandra. Yes, I remember also in Honduras, there were female mayors that welcomed us. And yes, at least we've seen certain level of engagement and support from the leadership to AMUC as well. And that was another area that I really appreciated. Everyone, if you have any questions, I don't see any questions. I see Kimberly answered to one question already. So do you have any questions? It's time we address those, and we'll wrap up. Any questions? No question? So everyone is going to email Kimberly or take the what you call the barcode. Yeah. And
she has raised her hand, I think.
Yeah.
Who? I did not see anyone. Bamlak, did you raise your hand? I did not see it. Okay. I cannot see when they raise their hands. Okay. Bamlak, the floor is yours.
Bamlak, let me allow. Okay, I can talk now. Bamlak?
She might not be able to talk.
I think
just allowed her.
Oh, there she is. There she is.
Yes.
I was just going to ask towards ECPA, and anybody else would like to comment on this. What approaches are being used to make sure that policies are participatory to women in the coffee sector, and also to organizations are working in coffee to develop policies and also work towards the approach of including women in towards the sector and benefits? and benefits women in the coffee sector? That's my question. Thank you.
Shall we have, if there is any other question, and maybe answer all of them together in one go? Okay. Okay, Kimberly is going to leave us because she has another call to take. Thank you, Kimberly. Alamu, you might take it from here, and if there is any questions, we'll address them.
Thank you so much, Sarah and Atu Alemu. Really great to be with everyone. Take care. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. I hope
Ciao.
we have,
Abrazos. Ciao,
another
ciao.
session-
Dios.
Another session with you in the near future. Thank you. So with that, I thank all the panelists, Kimberly, Sandra, Dahab, for a very insightful discussion. And thank you, Sarah, for your excellent moderation. With that, I thank all the participants for your engagement, active engagement, and I will give the floor to Dr. Tufena to close the webinar. Thank you so much. Jaime, I think I've seen the hand. Jaime, let me see. Where is Jaime? Yes, Jaime. I think you can talk now.
Thank you very much, Alemu, and thank you very much, colleagues, for the very interesting presentations. Just wanted to ask to the floor, because since I am seeing part of the problem of the land ownership and gender issues, like the problems that women face in the coffee sector, are they very much like other agricultural sector, or are they very particular and specific? Because if the case is that they are similar, for example, we have the experience of the colleague working with honey, and we might have the conclusion that it's all part of the same sector, and the problems going in every agricultural sector, so to say, and production are similar to the ones in coffee. Do you agree with this assessment? And if not, which are the particularities of around the coffee sector? Thank you.
Thank you, Jaime. Can anyone respond to that question?
If I understand right, Jaime is saying challenges are not particular to a certain sector. And if that's the case, I think he was trying to help us understand maybe the issue of redundancy and efforts being like redundant everywhere, if I listen properly. Is that right, Jaime?
Yes, that's right, because if that's the case, there are many strategies and many work done already about how to work in gender issues at in rural areas. It's true that the context in Ethiopia is very particular, but maybe we could benefit from reading or going into literature in other productive areas. That's my point. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, yes, as you said, the context in Ethiopia is different, but not only in Ethiopia. In different countries, you find there are what you call conducive environments, like I can take it Honduras, for instance. And if you go to maybe Rwanda, you'll see the same environment that really nurtures what the kind of support and engagement for women in the agriculture area. So we can have a gender strategy in the Ministry of Agriculture, let's say, even in Ethiopia. You can translate that into each sector and make it work for the women that are engaged in those sectors. It needs by itself a certain level of understanding of what gender mainstreaming is. That's why we're hammering the same issue for some time now, because as I said earlier, if we have been we've been talking about those challenges and maybe the possible solutions for those challenges, but not doing anything with all the resources Kimberly was mentioning, especially in the coffee sector, the investment on women and for women in the name of women. Where is it going? Like, why are we not seeing results so far? I'm not saying it's a complete loss, but it's not as if it's been years now that we have been talking about, improving the understanding of gender and working towards gender equity. And so again, now, at least in this South-South cooperation, we can bring our issues to the table, maybe create a pool of major challenges and prioritize them for each area and try to address them accordingly. That is how I see it. But yes, you're right. There is a lot of resources in terms of academics, in terms of research, studies, and money too. So we have to be to wisely navigate in those areas and take advantage. Thank you, Jaime.
Thank you, Sarah. I think now we need to close the webinar. So I give the floor to Dr. Tufena.
Thank you very much, Alemu. I want to thank everyone who honored our invitation to come, and especially those who prepared to share knowledge and exchange knowledge all the way from Honduras, Colombia, and Ethiopia, and the rest of the world. We thank you very much for doing this. This is a very good exercise because we get to know what maybe we have taken for granted. We get to know some of the insights into the things that are happening as the women work in this value chain. And so the comments that we have given, for example, Mulugeta and team, please go and incorporate them in your research so that you make it better and stronger. And it is important that you focus on the main challenges, the sectorial challenges, not general challenges on agriculture that have been happening. And maybe if you narrow down even further to look at the different sectors of the value chain. Thank you very much for the Latin Americans. You are helping us to push for women being in leadership, because when they are in leadership, then a lot happens for the voiceless. I want to thank Dahab very much for what you are doing as an aggregator and someone who is supporting the women and the things that you're doing. We shall again engage you to in another forum to help us after we think through this and how you're going to support the women in Ethiopia. Thank you, Kimberly, for your wonderful presentation, even if you have left. I know Sarah will tell you this. The focusing on the Gender Equity Index and how it is the opportunity to elevate Ethiopian women. So we also look forward to this particular research that we are having to be an opportunity to elevate Ethiopian women in coffee. Thank you very much, all of you, and I hope to see you again in the next webinar. Tell others about it so that we can have a larger team discussing these issues as we look for homegrown solutions to these problems. Thank you. By that, I declare it closed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you, Alemu. Thank you, Tufena. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dahab. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.